And then there's a customer over in this corner. He's the first person robbed. Then he comes over here, right? He comes over here and then he begins to rob these two. This man right here, who was the shooter, takes his money and throws his money on the ground with his right hand, his dominant hand. Hey, sissy mom life, what's going on? Then he comes over and then robs some people over here and then comes back around this way and begins to walk out. At this point, with his back turned, hold on, I'm addressing that right now. With his back turned, this customer begins to shoot at him. Now, I cannot show the full video because this is TikTok, but if you go and watch the video, you will see that this customer is still over here and is in the line of fire. I say again, in the line of fire from Eric walking out of the Taqueria. Was he in danger of losing his life? We can argue that the danger was being minimized as he was walking through almost out the door. But he was in the line of fire from him as he was walking out the door. And so under Texas law, the first volley of shots where he shot him in the back right there, that would have been justified. But the problem that I see is once the threat is down, you must have the presence of mind to be able to tell yourself to stop. But that is not what this gentleman did. He walked over to him while he was on the ground and shot him while he was on the ground. That is the part that is the problem, is that he kept on shooting at him while he was down. If it is not good for Jason Van Dyke in the shooting of Laquan McDonald in Chicago to shoot a person when they are down, it is not okay for him to have delivered the second volley of shots. The first times, excellent. You got no complaints there. But the problem is once he is down, you walk up and then begin to shoot him while he's down. That is a no-go. That is a no-go. And I say this to say it is very easy if you are not highly trained, or at least reasonably trained and emotionally regulated to the point where you understand when to stop. That is called judicious marksmanship. Now, after you're done, can you bring your firearm to Soul, or what I call high ready scan grip, and then make sure at a distance that the person is no longer a threat? Tell everybody else, hold on, give it time, because down doesn't mean dead. Yes, you can come from here and go here, but to walk up and finish the job, no, that is where it is too much. It's called judicious marksmanship, okay? Here's another thing too. For him to advance the body, there is a difference between when the police advance the body and when a civilian does it. In law enforcement applications, there is a need for the police to advance the body, to secure it. Why? The Fourth Amendment, do me a favor, tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen, hit the likes, please. This is education, okay? Tap the screen. I like this little green screen background through. This is amazing. Here we go. For the police to use force, everything that the police does is supposed to be under the scope of the Fourth Amendment. What does the Fourth Amendment say? The right of the people to be secured in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Whenever there is a law enforcement use of force, in that law enforcement use of force, there is a seizure, right? There's search and then there's seizure. When the police shoot a person, whether they survive or whether they have their life contract terminated, right? That is a seizure. And because it is a seizure, there must be a follow-up investigation to make sure that the private person's interest in remaining alive does not outweigh, or strike that, the government's interest in seizing that person does not outweigh the private person's interest in the property value of their life. That's a government test. It's a balancing test. And to do that, the person is now property of the government during that investigation. So after the use of force, it makes sense for the police officer to advance towards the body, to handcuff this person and seize that body so that an investigation can be done. A medical autopsy, an investigation at the medical examiner's office to determine cause and manner of death, trajectory. That body is now evidence pursuant to the Fourth Amendment, right? And then after the autopsy, after the investigation, at a certain time, the body is then released to the family for other things, because the body is one of the first things that's investigated because of the timeline, of release, so that the body can be turned over to the family. Because after a while, the body does its thing medically and starts to decay, and it has a timeline of those things, right? But for a civilian does not have a duty to advance the body for any reason except to protect family members, maybe to get out of the way if that is the only point of entry, exit. Other than that, if there are other ways to leave, it's best you do so. Down does not mean dead. How many of you watched, and I'm going to look in the comments, I'll respond to you all shortly. How many of you all remember the movie Inglorious Bastards, right? Inglorious Bastards. Put a number 1 in the comments if you remember the movie Inglorious Bastards. I'm talking about really remember the scenes of Inglorious Bastards. I'm going to sit there and give you a perfect example of why you should not advance the body. Do you remember the time where it was towards the end where all of the Nazis were in there watching the movie and things of that nature? Do you remember the time where Shoshana was showing the movie, and I believe the guy's name was Friedrich or something like that? He came up there and really liked her and all that great stuff. What did she end up doing? Pop shot him, right? He shot him, I think, a few times, and he was down on the ground. What did she do? She put too much confidence in believing that down meant dead. And she was wearing the kind of shoes that made noise as she was walking forward. He wasn't dead, he was just down. So what he did was, as soon as he felt that she was close, turned over, pop, 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 shot her, and they both ended up dying. That's a movie, but that's not outside of the norm of reality. Down does not mean dead, right? And so this is why, if at all possible, you must remain your distance. Keep at a distance so you don't find yourself putting yourself in a civilian-induced jeopardy where you got close and had no choice to react. You see what I'm saying? So that's all that I'm saying. I'm saying that, yes, I still have classes. I'll have them later on. That's all that I'm saying. Now, the first volley of shots that he used, was that justified use of force under Texas law, under almost any law? Yes. Absolutely. Yes, 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 yes. And I do not care if people say, well, you shouldn't shoot a person in the back. Under these circumstances and under various circumstances, yes, it is okay to do that, because it takes a millisecond for a person to then turn around with that firearm and shoot you. Let me give you another example. How many of you all like football? Type a number 2 in the comments if you like football. If you like football, is the running back or the wide receiver, are they running with their chest facing towards the quarterback? No, they're running with their back facing towards the quarterback, but they keep popping their head back. And as soon as there's a connection, they turn around, pop, catch that ball, and keep on going. You see what I'm saying? So it's easy to turn around and do something and then keep on going. And you have to understand physiology and how the body works, right? And so if all you understand is the range environment where the target is squared off and boxed against you shoulder to shoulder, like a rectangle, then that's the length of your training, or that's the limits of your training. And I'm not shaming you or judging you. You only know what you know. But once you get out there in the field, you'll understand things differently, right? There's a difference between theory and practicality. Practicality is actually practicing it. And I pray many of you who own a gun never find yourself in this position, because he did the right thing up until that time where he walked towards him and pop, 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 right? This is why, as a firearms instructor, I am one of those teachers who is of the opinion that I am teaching you that you are using this firearm to buy you time to get away. To buy you time to get away. I caution firearms instructors against teaching K-I-L-L. The reason why I caution them against this is because, let's take for instance the situation that happened, and I'm going to go to the comments and answer shortly, and if you want to come up as a guest, I'll let you know. Please feel free to come up. I would love to have your opinions on the matter, right? But I remember, hey, Miss Chanel, how are you? I remember a situation in Chicago around 119th and Western, right? Where there was a firefighter, retired firefighter, who was leaving a popcorn shop, and he was driving a maroon Jeep SRT. And then three guys came out of the vehicle, and then the lieutenant went around to the passenger side quarter panel, took out his revolver and shot at one of the carjackers. What happened? He did not hit the carjacker, but the carjacker ducked. Two of the guys ran southbound on Western towards 119th, and the other guy ran away. Now, had the firefighter stayed behind the passenger side front quarter panel by the engine block, he would have been alive today. But the mistake that he made was, because he had a revolver and likely his training focused on K-I-L-L, he had 4 rounds. Thinking that he was outnumbered and not knowing what happened, not having the vantage point of the camera, he thought he had to chase him. Why? He didn't have a lot of rounds. See, your weapon choice, the type of ammunition you have, the number of ammunition you have, and your training could also factor in your decision to think that you have to get this guy, when in fact, all he did was shoot at him justifiably, but it's called suppressive fire. Suppressive fire. Suppressive fire. If you use your firearm, pop, and you shoot, you don't hit, but it causes that person to duck and get away because they figure out, oh, it just got real. Guess what you did? You did your job. It bought you time to get away. You don't have to K-I-L-L that guy. You don't have to do that. You see what I'm saying? And so the desire to think that you have to finish the job, that may cause you more problems than good. Now, if you do such a good job, right? You said, but where would he run? You would have to watch the video to see. The lieutenant had plenty of options to run. He didn't have to run after that guy he had shot. In fact, him running after him is what exposed him from the cover that he was hiding behind, being the engine block and the quarter panels of the car. And so pop, 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 here we go. He tried to go after him and ended up getting shot by a lucky shot that the guy fired from underneath his arm. Now, I know you said, I bet that person won't rob again. It is cocky people like you that's gonna cause people that may not be about that life. You see what I'm saying? Here we go. You gotta be careful of the comments, because people who don't know anything about the law say stuff like this. He said, nah, dead people can't sue you, but guess who can? The executor of the state of the person who passed. Don't you pay attention to cop shootings? The family always always sues. In Breonna Taylor, guess who sued? Her mom, Tamika Palmer. You better pay attention, right? I'm not saying he did not rob and terrorize people. I'm not saying he didn't deserve to be shot. I'm not saying that. Oh no, he definitely deserved that. But then to walk up and then finish it, that right there may be where there's a problem. That right there may be where there's a problem. Now, there is a difference between battlefield applications, where you have the green light to do what you have to do, and civilian applications. There's a difference. There is a difference. And if you've never operated in both, you don't know. You don't know. And so that's all that I'm saying. All right, floor is open. Let's go. Here we go. If you want to get in on this, go on ahead and hit the guest button. I'm done with the lecture. I will answer questions, right?